Everybody, welcome to Curtain Call Chicago. I am Paul Lisnick with our weekly look at one of the great productions going on in Chicago, and I got a good one for you today. But before I tell you about it, let me encourage you, go on and subscribe on YouTube, Curtain Call Chicago. Got to subscribe. You'll know when the new shows are out. Got all sorts of great stuff coming up. But we want to talk about a great show that's playing at the Looking Glass Theater, one of my favorite theaters in the city right now, and it is called White Rooster. And Matthew Yee, you are the playwright, you're the director, I think you're the co-writer of the music of this. So there's nothing you don't do. We're going to meet the cast in just a little bit, but let me come to you and ask you, White Rooster, this is actually based in truth in your past, right? Am I right, in your family?
Yeah, it started out with a true story and sort of snowballed from there. But a few years ago, my great aunt told the story of my great grandfather, who was adopted in southern China in the early 1900s. And we knew he was adopted into the Yi family, but what we didn't know was that he was adopted as the sort of the child of a ghost marriage. So there were two families in rural China who each lost their one lost their son, one lost their daughter, and they had what's called a ghost marriage, which is a traditional Chinese ritual where you two people who are deceased get married, or a person who's deceased and a person who is alive gets married, and it's a way to like make sure that they are happy in the afterlife. And so my great grandfather was adopted as the son of a ghost union.
And you always had that in your. By the way, I'd marry my dog if I could. So it's not that strange. I have a feeling most people would agree that we would marry our dogs. Nobody gets mad at you. But so this was a while ago, and of course, again, your incredible previous show, Lucy and Charlie's Honeymoon. Was this always though running around in your mind, knowing one day this needed to burst open as a play?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard the story, it was 2020. It was February, Chinese New Year, and everybody in my family said, "Matt, you got to write a play about it." And so I put it in my back pocket, and all the while I was working on Lucy and Charlie, so I was a little preoccupied. And when that opened and closed, I was ready to start working on White Rooster. So
If it was February of 2020, that probably gave you a good couple of years after that to start working on
it
it.
did, yeah,
Yeah, we all shut down in March. Let's
exactly.
meet some of the cast members who are here with us. I think Sunnie, I'm gonna start with you because you play Min. Tell us who Min is and what role she has, because our eyes are always on you.
Yeah, Min is a girl with a ghost in her attic. That is the most succinct way I can put it.
That won't
She's a
scare
girl
anybody.
who wants to leave her small hometown, but there's a ghost in the attic who's going to make that a little bit more complicated for her.
Wow, that was pretty succinct. That was pretty good. Now the June, there is the ghost not with us today, but your kind of husband is. Reilly Oh is here, and tell us about Pong, your character. You get to do some really interesting things in this show. So I had to talk to you, Reilly, because you tell everybody what you do.
Pong is you meet him and he's a miner in the town. He's kind of like the local ghost expert in some ways. He talks to all the ghosts. He knows all the ghosts in the town. And yet the ghost he meets that Min tells him about at the beginning is a ghost he's unfamiliar with. So he kind of starts into his own little like horror story, going into a house he's unfamiliar with, going into a family he's unfamiliar with, and is getting involved in some of their family history. And then later he learns that some of that family history might be brought about by his own actions, actions he might not know, actions he may take a part of willingly, which has been really exciting. And then, I mean, the spoilers are out there. He eventually transforms into a white rooster from that ghost marriage that happens between Pong once he dies and Min. And that's just a whole journey out of itself in the second act of him being like a rooster man.
How long does it take you to get into that transformation each night?
We started at about like 2 minutes after an emission. I take like a little
Oh,
second,
okay.
get some water and stuff, but then so about 15 minutes.
Okay.
Like
Oh, that's not bad.
the wardrobe team is outstanding on this team. Like Kat leads them. Like they're managed to get everything done so quickly. The costume team led by Mara is just outstanding. Like they really take the stress off of that transformation in a lot of different ways
Yeah.
because they know their jobs, and it makes me feel like I can do my job all the better.
Yeah, and you do. And so, look, at the description so far, it's all sounding very serious and scary, and there is a little of that, in the show. But then enter Elliot, um, because Elliot, you're just so much fun. You're another one I said I got to have him part of this show, and I'm so glad you can make it. You play Fang. We'll talk about your character because you kind of have us on the floor throughout the show.
Well, I mean, well, thank you. I play Fang and this character called the Wu. I've had a lot of fun trying finding new discoveries with both of those characters, but the Wu was probably the one that I made like the strongest choice on from the early days because I knew it was going to require some sort of mystical element. And I guess what I landed on was what now we're doing with the show. I'm from like Austin, Texas, and my whole family's from like West Texas. So I like have been around a lot of folks in my life that sound like this guy. Um, and any chance I get to do some sort of accent like that, it's always super fun to do. And so, and just being switching that dialect, it unlocked a whole bunch of different mannerisms and a different way to move around and how to say certain words that Matt is writing for us. So yeah, no, it's super dope. And then Fang, sweet
Yeah,
guy, sweet genuine
that
little
that means when your family comes to see you, they say, "How come you're not performing?"
bro. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, what are you doing up there? What are you
You're
doing?
just sounding like Texas.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Matthew, just a quick word about the casting of this show. I'm assuming not only playwright, but obviously you played a key role in casting. Well, just what a great group you added into this. Did you have anybody in mind before this, or did they audition and you said these are the folks?
A lot of the folks were surprises to me. Like I'd never worked with Karen Aldridge before,
Oh, she's
and
great.
Kareem Bandiali brought her in. He's like, we got to get her, we got to get her. And I saw her, and I was like, she's just incredible. And Elliot as well. Like he the tape that he sent in was for the Woo, and he did the thing that he does in the show. Like we weren't sure. I wasn't sure because Elliot was actually replacing at the time. There was somebody else that was cast, and Elliot jumped in very late in the game to do this tape, and he did this old Texan, and I'm like, I couldn't picture it different from the way that this other actor was doing it, and then Elliot did that old Texan, and I was like, that's who that guy is. Like it was so much fun and so surprising, and that's what's really exciting about to me about casting is like
Yeah.
you get to meet new actors who just bring their own energy and their own take on a character that you had never thought about
And
before.
when you see it, right? I mean, and there it is. That's the role. Sunnie, your character, you talked about what you do, this notion of wanting to leave this haunted town that Min lives in. But there is for me as I watched it, sort of a tension between the flight desire, but also this family obligation. I mean, you do, spoiler alert, agree to marry a Rooster. So, what can you talk to me about how you as an actor sort of made character choices as you dealt with that conflict between the desire to flee and at the same time, I have these obligations?
Definitely. Um, I really, well, the thing that one of the first things that you should know about me is that I love new play development. I love how a play can change from a workshop to the next day in a workshop. I love how things can change from a workshop to production. And the notion of Min wanting to leave from the very first moment of the play was rather close to the top of rehearsals. We had done workshops before where Min came to that realization far later in the play. So that was something that we integrated kind of at the top of this rehearsal process, and that
Mhm.
felt like a new thing. And something, Matt, that you said throughout rehearsals as I kind of um, noodled through what it meant to want to leave from the jump, from the start, from curtain up, um, with all of these things that she then agrees to do, like marrying a rooster, like well, that's the only example that's coming to mind, right?
Pretty good one.
But all of these
Good.
things that she agrees to do that are in conflict with her
Yeah.
leaving, a way that Matt, you put it, that was really useful to me was about the goalpost keeps shifting. Maybe if I just do this one more thing, then I can go. Maybe if I just am kind to these grieving parents, I can go after that. There is a kind of like kindness that comes with it, obligation that I think shifts those goalposts for men
Yeah.
until the point where they just can't shift any further.
And Reilly, for you, I think the challenge here is, look, you're dealing with this very real, specific family story that comes from Matt's world, and at the same time, while your portrayal honors that cultural specificity. It has to do that. But let's face it, there's a real challenge here for an audience who might just want to laugh or have fun with it and not buy it and all of that. So for you, what kind of character actor choices did you make that had your portrayal of Pong and then Pong as White Rooster to make it a sort of a legible, resonate with a Chicago audience? Because I bought it.
Yeah, I think part of that is especially early grounding Pong in some realism, like grounding him in like he is a guy. There was a really recent script change in previews that like kind of mellowed Pong out a bit at the beginning. Like I kind of brought in with a lot of energy, and then uh, the version you see now, he's kind of more mellow. He's kind of towards the tail end of his like passion about digging, and then he gets roped back into it, and then that leads him to get more and more amped up as he becomes the Rooster. And then really what helps being like Rooster Man is having like a physicality that really came about when putting on the costume and like putting on like the final costume with all the feathers and the headpiece that like just makes me feel like I have to keep moving in some bit or another. It's like it's impossible to stay still in that costume because it's so uh kinetic in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like seeing someone go from like not complete stillness, but relative calm to like ramped up energy and like passion and anger. Uh it helped me understand like the journey that I had to go to. So it wasn't just like it's not linear, but it's also not like completely non-linear either, which was helpful.
You think twice before you eat chicken now, right?
I do think a little bit about where this has been, what his life's journey has been about,
Yeah,
how did it end up
it's going to
in my
happen.
suit? Yeah.
So, Elliot, one of the critical things I've determined are all part of a Matt Yee show is the incorporation of music. So far, your history is true to that, Matt. So we'll see where it goes in the future. But obviously, music is important, and you're one of the musicians in this show. You get to play. So I'm sort of curious. Can you talk about how you juggle the fact that you have these characters that you're playing, but you're also one of the musicians and going in that road, and yet you have to make the music a part of the story, not a break in the story, time for a song. Talk about the challenge that you faced in doing that, because of the players here, you're critical in that.
Yeah, we got like a playlist from Matt right before I think workshop and stuff like that. So there was already like a template to kind of listen to kind of teach yourself these songs. But we also in those workshops had already started exploring different musical instruments, not just guitar, but like different percussive things and things that aren't inherent instruments, but you can make them into instruments
Mhm.
and those different sounds and stuff like that. So I think having that from the very beginning kind of made it a little bit easier. So it wasn't like a last minute add of like, okay, hey, we're gonna add music here. We're just not doing it now. We're gonna move on to something else. We had always incorporated that from the jump. And also it's pretty intuitive. All the guitars are tuned to a some sort of open tuning. So like a lot of us can play, but then we can also just press down a couple strings and make new chords and different things like that. So it's a little bit easier and a little bit more intuitive, which makes it really, really fun because you can kind of lean into those elements along with like what you're saying. So I don't know. I don't know. It seems really hard, but once you've been doing it from the beginning and like you have the support of everybody and Matt's there all the time. So like when we didn't know somebody like can I just see the guitar real quick? And he just will play and be like it's like that. And I'm like, okay, bro, like I'll do that. So it was a lot of that. So which was honestly pretty helpful. So yeah, no, it all works really, really well together. So
So,
yeah.
and Matt, it sounds like as the director, actually, he's a helpful guy. He's not, because he could have said, give me that guitar, but he didn't.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Give me that guitar. So, Matt, a couple of questions as a follow up. One, talk to me about the importance of music in your shows. It does look like this is going to be, when you're seeing a Matthew Yee show, it's kind of what you're going to get. Or is it just, no, that's just what it's been so far, but maybe next time not?
Music has always been a huge part of my life and a huge part about my own personal expression, and so it's really hard for me to avoid it when I'm writing a new play. I always want to find ways to incorporate it, and in a way that doesn't necessarily make it a musical, right? Like Lucy and Charlie was more of a musical, and White Rooster is not really. It's a play with music.
I'll play with music, yeah.
And I just find it's such a visceral way to express emotion, convey information, and to set vibe and tone. And something that like I'm really passionate about when I'm trying to incorporate music, especially actor musician stuff, is like I feel like historically actor musician shows the director or the playwright is always trying to justify why there are instruments in the show. Like they got to be a busker, that it's got to be about a band, or it's, you know what I mean? Like they're always trying to find ways to make it logical. And I don't think there's any reason to do that. Like it's just another theatrical device. It's the same thing as like a set piece or a prop or a character choice. Like it's a choice that the creators are making to just further the story along.
My next question, actually, either our actors here will say, yes, I knew that, or maybe you're about to learn something from my question, and I'm going to stay with Matt with this. Years ago, Matt, I did a special on Looking Glass with Schwimmer and Joey Slotnick and Billy Deck and a few. And around that time, we talked about Looking Glass and its moniker of theater without a net. And at that time, you may or may not have known, it was actually it was a particular season's name, right? The Theater Without a Net. And I remember saying to Schwimmer and those guys, dude, this is not this is who you are. This is Looking Glass. And I remember them kind of nodding and saying, you may be right. And my sense is Theater Without a Net has stuck with the theater ever since then. So number one, I'm taking credit for that, whether I should or not. But let me come to you. So in your version of Theater Without a Net, you obviously, I imagined you staying up late at night, maybe your wife saying, Matt, get to sleep, because you had things. How do I show them? I need to show them. We're known for visually inventive storytelling. Well, you found the answer. And I'm talking about not just the puppet kind of thing that Reilly's doing, but my word, I guess, shadow puppets or the lighting effect. That's what I'm talking about, all that stuff. So I'm sort of curious, again, maybe the actors know or not. Was that a staying up all night? I got to figure out how to tell this story. Or did you always knew that was part of it and just was there?
A lot of what we discovered that is now in the play were not things that I had planned. I do stay up late at night and I think about the play, but I don't often invent things. I will just let things sit with me and trust that when I get into the room with everybody, it's going to translate into something. And so we were really lucky in this rehearsal process to be on the set from the first day of rehearsal, which usually, you're in rehearsal in some studio with the floor taped out and you don't get on the set until tech. So because we were on that stage from day one, we were able to get really creative and really inventive really early and figure out what worked and what didn't work. Like for instance, that big scrim, that big curtain that goes up and down on those ropes, there was a day that I just came in with a bunch of rope that I had in my basement, and I went up into the grid and dropped rope from the rigging up there. I got into a lot of trouble because I'm not supposed to go up there, but that's how we made that discovery. And so it's the collaboration with the cast and with the creatives when we're all together in the same space that really leads us to some of those big discoveries.
One of the, I think, advantages, Looking Glass Space, which, by the way, is one of the most magnificent theaters we have in the city. I mean, when they came up with and working with, I think it was the Daily Administration at that time, but having this space, and there was a period, there were times like, would we stay here and could we do it? And I think now everybody goes, what are we thinking? Of course, we're staying here. But Reilly, I'll come to you with this one. It's an intimate space. The audience is just a few. I always sit in the front row, so I'm just a few feet from all of you as you're doing that. Is that a good thing? Is that a difficult? Are you paying attention to us? Do you care? Or are you taking us in?
That's something I've been thinking a lot about, especially like the first few shows. I was like, oh, this is a lot more intimate than I think I realized during the rehearsal process. We're right on.
Although
top
you've been
of
up at Writers too, also sort of a close knit thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think for myself, at least as an actor, it's always something that I'm aware of, but sometimes have to be like, I just can't worry about that right now. Like, there's times when I'm going to catch someone I know in the audience. I'm going to be like, or there's the person who's looking right at me at a moment where I'm like, I didn't think I'd be looking at right now. And I think the job as an actor often is to be like, let that information in, but don't let it affect your performance anyway. Or if it does affect your performance, use that momentum to carry you forward, because you can't let the audience you can't let that worry you in a way. And there's moments there's one scene where I'm just staring straight ahead at one person usually in the second act while Sunnie does Sunnie and Noel do a crazy dance move behind me that I can't see. And all the while I'm just supposed to be staring at one person. And I usually try to choose one person and not lose them, but they're kind of fuzzy with the lighting. So it's very helpful not to be able to see their face.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like in that moment, I'm giving one person a private show, which in a way is kind of helpful because it just shuts out the rest of the world and lets me experience what I need to experience. Um, but Looking Glass also, you're so right. It feels so big and so immense while you're up there, and then once you're at the lip of the stage, you feel like you're in a crowd full of like there's 140 people right around you looking right at you, and being able to marry that difference is really important.
So, Sunny, you've just been told that you are distracting the people that are very impressed with Reilly, with with the dance you're doing. I think she'll get over that. But kind of same question to you as well about working in that intimate space. But also, no, I'm going to say that there's a second part. I'm going to give it to Elliot. So, what do you think again about working that intimate space where we're right there with you?
Yeah, I think I have a slightly different experience from Reilly because I have a lot of moments where I get to directly connect with the audience through song, in kind of more of like a rock star concert mode of theatricality. So it's been actually really, really useful for me to find specific people in the audience at different points where I'm talking right to them. I have drunk the Kool-Aid of the Backroom Shakespeare Project, which is a fantastic project here in Chicago that talks a lot about theater that was made before the notion of a fourth wall and how like checking in with your audience, being accountable to them, making sure they are along the ride with you is a really like fun, exciting, and vulnerable way to make theater. And I think that Min's track with how much rock star mode she gets to do really benefits from getting to be in that intimate space where I can see individual people's faces. I can see who's crossing their arms. I can see who's on their phone right when intermission ends. And I get to talk directly to them. And it really helps me feel connected with the people we're telling the story to.
Did you see me eating my Three Musketeers bar?
I missed that one, actually. I must have been looking on the other side.
Okay. Uh,
You
I
got
tried.
away with it this
I
time.
try to hide it. I'm like a Walgreens with crap next to me sitting on the floor. So Elliot, so again, here you're this Texas guy and you come up here. So my question for you, I think you're the right one to maybe ask this, but all you got to do is do 5 minutes of research on Looking Glass and you realize it's really truly one of the not just most inventive, but most important and major theaters in town. And for me, and I've covered this for a long time, when people say name the major theaters, I'll be honest, I say Steppenwolf and Goodman and Looking Glass. Those for me are of a class. And there's lots of other great theaters, all due respect, writers and Porchlight, great theaters. But I put those three together because you just look who came out of those theaters and it's jaw dropping. So I wanted to ask you, as somebody who, I don't know how long you've been in Chicago, I guess first part of the question, but when you end up performing at a place like Looking Glass, do you feel the pressure of the quote unquote ancestors who came before you?
Man, okay, so I've been in Chicago probably I think like 2 years or 2.5 years now. And when Matt approached me about this, I had not seen anything at Looking Glass and I didn't really know much about it. So, and I submitted before I kind of looked into it. And once I started looking into it, I was like, bro, this is crazy. I was just put this thing on tape, and now I'm like, oh wow, this is like this is a dope space. And it wasn't until I got into workshops and got into work with some of these like ve very talented actors, I was like, wow, like it's imposter syndrome, yeah, but also just like, holy shit, like we're in this with everybody. Like we're like all of us are in this same room, and I'm talking to people who have done so many great things or are still doing great things. And so it's not necessarily a pressure to do something great because everything there is so new. Every show that they do is different and unique. So it's not like you have to like match whatever the show that just went on or the show from 2 years ago because it will never be the same because it's not supposed to be the same. And I think that allows you to kind of just like let it go and then just trust that, the people you're doing the show with who are guiding you are like, yeah, what you're doing is working or it's not working. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Well, listen, if Matt did make you do what they would do, you'd be sliding up and down silks. So
that's what I've
that's
heard.
he let you out.
Everybody
He let
stay
you
on the
out.
ground in this one.
Yes, at least you have a rope for them, so there's doing something. Matt, I want to go back to kind of the beginning of again. This comes from stories you've inherited. These family treasures. Actually, I should have. So, have family members of yours seen the show, and do they have a reaction to the story you're telling?
Yeah, I had some aunts and uncles come last week and the week before, and they all sort of have the same knowledge that I have, which is the story that we heard in 2020 from my great aunt. And then we don't have any other information besides that. So they're all kind of in the same boat as me. I'm a little further along in terms of discovering that story led me down a rabbit hole of research into further other ghost marriage situations, and then also the folk tales of China as well. But my aunt and uncle saw it and they said it was really interesting. So I think that
Is
was
that a
good.
compliment?
I think so. I don't know. I'm gonna take it as a compliment.
Okay. But did you like it, Auntie, is what I want to know. And Sunnie, I'm sort of curious. Can you talk to me about the rehearsal space? We know that Matt was instrumental in what you were doing, but look, you fall in love with Pong. You marry the guy. You don't even care if he become a rooster. It is what it is. Can you talk about the rehearsal space and how you and Reilly sort of developed the relationship you needed to develop so that we as an audience can buy that you fall in love and whatever happens to him, you'll stick with him?
Yeah, well, without a worry is maybe going too far. I think that she has one or two worries about this whole situation. But yes, um,
Did I say
the
without a worry?
rehearsal
Okay.
space, it was so lovely. We had a workshop a couple weeks before rehearsal started in earnest, where we got to do a whole bunch of table work, a whole bunch of script development. But once we were in the rehearsal period proper, as Matt said, we were on the stage, we were noodling out shadow puppetry, we were noodling out all the spectacle, all the music. So we didn't do a terrible amount of table work getting into the scenes of this relationship, but through working that spectacle, through working things like the movement piece that Min and Pong get to do in the second act, there was still plenty of time to figure out the depthiness of that relationship. We were also helped by the wonderful Cheryl Williams, who was our intimacy director, who helped us create awesome intimacy that's not only like what you typically see on a stage, but also intimacy that works with the shadow puppetry elements.
Was that tough for you, by the way? I mean, you do have to work a rooster puppet. Did you need some training for some of that?
Um, I, I love puppets. Puppets are a place where it is just a skill that I have loved since taking a class around puppetry in university. So I think more than training, I got pointers from fantastic people like Matt, like Caitlin McLeod, our puppet designer, from Casey Foster, our choreographer, who is a wonderful puppeteer as well. And then a lot of hanging out in front of a mirror and like my phone video so I could watch back like precisely the moments where the puppet needed to be thinking something, where I was thinking something else.
And Reilly, I'm going to come to you, but I got to go back to Matt because of something Sunnie just said. Matt, when you were developing, like what, because you said you didn't have all the answers up front. So did you expect to have more puppets? I'm guessing puppetry was always in your mind. Did you begin to think we're going to have more puppets and I just can't make that happen? So we're going to shift to the lighting special effects of this. How did that balance happen?
We always, I always wanted it to be a mix of shadow puppetry and physical puppetry. I was super excited about the shadow puppetry, and I wanted to find ways to contrast it and make it sort of explode from the screen by like bringing physical puppets like the Rooster in. But really, it was like I want to find as many different theatrical devices to tell this story, and shadow puppetry and physical puppetry were the two big ones.
All right. Reilly, are you ready for an unfair question?
Always.
Well, it's unfair because Matthew's going to hear your answer. Matthew, of course, began as an actor, and we've seen him as an actor. And this is, Matt, right, your directorial debut with this show. So, Reilly, would you describe Matt as as an actor's director or a director's director?
I think an actor's director. I think Matt, not to like perceive you too much right now, Matt, but I think very much like Matt was like wanted to give us a lot of freedom as actors to like make choices, to try things, to bring things in and attempt to make sense of his world in a collaborative effort. Like always like stick to the story and the characters that he's written, but at the same time, like bring your true authentic self into these roles because that's the only thing like actors can often bring into a role. Uh, there are a lot of times where I feel like Matt would be like, yeah, just like feel what you need to feel it out. If it's even with simple things of just like guitar, of being like, play it. Here's how I'm going to show you how to play it, but then now like feel out the rhythm, and then he'd let us feel it out, and then he'd get a little like and do it a little bit this way, and then let us feel it out. And so in that way, it's very kind to an actor. It's not. I would say there weren't a lot of times where Matt was like, and you hit this mark, and then you turn and hit this mark, which feels maybe more of like a director's director. Um, Also, I could like, I don't want to speak for Matt, but Matt was also in the writer brain too. Like he's also like a writer's director in a lot of
Yeah, good
ways.
point.
a lot of the show, Matt was focused on how do I make this, how do I raise the clarity? How do I make things clear? How do I make things flow? And the thing is, Matt seemed like you were wearing 50 different hats in one day during this process. And the fact that he was able to so, I know it wasn't effortless, but oftentimes it felt like you were just effortlessly floating between one and the other. And something I don't think I can do myself. And I was very, very impressed by, just because he would jump in from music director to puppet coordinator. Like there'd be times when Matt would have an idea and he would like scramble up to his desk and cut out a makeshift shadow puppet and throw it on behind the screen. And then we knew that like Caitlin would come in and make a new thing, but it was still perfectly functionable. And so the fact that Matt was able to jump from directing us in a scene to like, oh, I have an idea about the shadow puppet. It is truly like it is like in a way like an auteur at work in a lot of different ways.
So that was the tough question, but here's the worst part. Matt, grade the answer. Is Reilly right? Are you an actor's director? I mean, how did you react to the answer he just gave?
I think that's right. I think of myself as an actor's director. I because I've been an actor for so long, like my big focus when I was in the room and we were making discoveries is I would always do the thing, especially if it was like something technical, I would always do the thing first to make sure it felt right as an actor. Like you want things to be repeatable, even down to that small of a sort of situation where it was like a technical, physical thing. But yes, I think that I'm an actor's director. I don't think it was quite effortless, but it was certainly fun. Jumping from one thing to the other, I found it super stressful and super exciting and really exhilarating. Like being able to have access to all of these different mediums with all of these talented people in the room and being able to like basically say like, I have this idea, let's try and make this happen together was like, it was just so cool.
Okay, that's an A. That's a better answer than that was interesting, nephew Matt.
Yeah.
And Elliot, let me ask you. You know, when a ghost story is being told, a lot it often hinges on what's not being said, what's unresolved. And in some ways, your character is a part of all this, but also watching a lot of this happen. From your character's perspective, what's left unresolved in this story? Anything?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think so. I mean, I've had a lot of people see the show, and everyone takes something different from it. Some people, they're trying to find a resolution in something, and some people are okay with not having it, and so I think that that's kind of what the beauty of what the show is. And I think I had my own journey of trying to discover what that was, and I realized that my characters are not trying to give the answers. They're just trying to gu- uh, guide like just make a path for these folks to find the answers, whatever they're going to be. And it's not like it's always up to your interpretation, but also like it totally could be, you know what I'm saying? So like if you feel like it's left out, it's like then maybe it just is left out, or maybe it's not, you know what I'm saying? So like that's not a very clear answer, but
I'll
I don't
take it.
yeah.
That,
Yeah,
that,
that's
that works. Yeah, this is meant to be a little challenging. That's the goal. I do want to ask our actors, and then we'll get the correct answer from Matt. When people leave the show, now maybe sometimes people see you as as you're leaving or whatever, and they catch you. But Sunnie, what do you want the audience talking about on the way home after they watch White Rooster, or what do you think they're talking about?
Can I give a nerdy answer?
You know anything you want?
Okay. I want to jump off of what Elliot's saying of like there is no answer and there are a lot of things that can be left up to interpretation. And I think a reason for that is because puppets and particularly shadow puppetry is like by its nature a little inscrutable. Like the puppet is not going to tell you exactly what's happening because the puppet doesn't have a mouth and the puppet doesn't have our human expression. So I want people talking about how cool visually these things that we're presenting are and how you can read a bajillion different meanings into one tiny gesture of a puppet, whether that's the physical rooster, whether that's the shadow puppetry, whether that's like the more costume puppetry work. I want them debating what the puppets mean.
All right, good. Reilly, what do you want us talking about besides taking the kids to a petting zoo?
Uh, I think like this show does everything, and I want people to be like a show can do so much. In true, and maybe just like Looking Glass is special in a way that you can see incredible acting, incredible physicality, and incredible technical work all at the same moment. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be a joyous mishmash of all of them. Yeah.
And it's part of Looking Glass tradition, really. And Elliot, as somebody here just for a couple of years, what do you want us talking about when we leave?
Man, I want people to talk about to come continue to go see shows at Looking Glass. I think because I never been in a process like this where we're creating something so new at a scale that we get to do it at. And I think that like it's easy to take that for granted. And I think now we're in it. I'm just reflecting on our days off. I'm like, dude, we are so lucky to do this shit. So it's like getting people to come see brand new stuff that hasn't been seen before is like super super dope and at a high level. I'm like, that's not normal, man. We
That
in Texas it's not normal, I'll tell you that. So like coming here and getting a chance to do that, it's like, yo, like take what you want from it, but come see the show because you will take
Gotcha.
something away from it.
All right, that's world premiere stuff. And Matt, we're almost out of time, but what's the mission? What is your mission?
I want people to think about the meaning. I want them to think about, I don't know if if I would call it a lesson, but like there's a purpose to the story, and it does deal with things really irreverently and comically, and is very silly sometimes. But the overarching theme of the story is about hunger, and it's about the hunger of our souls and the hunger of longing and desire and jealousy and greed. And all of these characters in this play are suffering from some form of hunger. And I want the audience to think about their own hunger in their own lives.
All right. April 26th is the play date. LookingGlassTheater.org is where you get tickets. My thanks to all of you and everybody watching. Subscribe, curtaincallchicago.com. Thank you. Sorry, Curtain Call Chicago on YouTube and .com on the website if you want to read the review. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Break legs. Congratulations. It's great. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.